In the know, non-stop Vikings talk. It's Purple Daily on Score North and ScoreNorth.com.
Vikings Vent Line every Sunday right here. Actually, I should say every Saturday for today, right here on Purple Daily and the Purple Daily YouTube channel. Make myself full screen there for just a bit before I get my guys Shane and Ben on here to talk a little offseason and upcoming expectations. Vikings Vent Line is your show. I've been rocking this for the last 6-7 months now, and all of a sudden the Vikings season is just a couple weeks away, so there's just a few more episodes of Vikings Vent Line, the off-season edition, to get rolling here on Purple Daily. So if you want to join one of those episodes, I have a few spots left. Hit me up. It's VikingsVentLine@gmail.com if you want to join that show. I have a few of these left before the season starts against Tampa Bay in week 1 with Naki, Judd, and myself. We'll welcome all the Vikings fans for an extravaganza. And if you haven't heard of Vikings Vent Line, if you haven't experienced Vikings Vent Line, you're 2 weeks away from really getting to it as full service. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're jacked. This is now the 4th season, I believe, we've done this since the pivot on to podcasting and YouTube predominantly on Purple Daily. So we're really excited for another season of Vikings Vent Line. Hit us up, VikingsVentLine@gmail.com. Of course, Purple Daily presented by our friends at TCL. Vikings football season's coming up, so get yourself a TCL television and hit that subscribe button for daily Vikings entertainment. This is Purple Daily, 7 days a week, right here on the Purple Daily YouTube channel, or wherever you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify. The Score North app is a central hub for everything we do as well. All right, let's get our guys in here. Let's get Shane on. Let's get Ben on from Florida. Ben's a veteran from Vikings Vent Line. He's been on countless episodes. He's like our Steve Martin of the Saturday Night Club. He just has his jacket that's just littered with appearances on Vikings Vent Line. And then our guy Shane. Shane's in South Carolina, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so South Carolina making your first appearance on Vikings Vent Line. So excited to have you guys on here, preview a little bit of the upcoming season. So let's start off with this one here. I've been putting this one on the tee a lot for Vikings fans, and it goes back and forth a lot between different fans. So I'm curious on your opinion. Shane, I'm going to start with you here. Give me your hottest Vikings take for the 2023 season.
I think my hot take is a little crazy. I think Kirk Cousins ends up winning the NFL MVP. And my reasoning for that is I think the offense is going to be the best offense in football. I think the Vikings will regret not re-signing Kirk Cousins to a contract after the season. But I think the offense is just too potent. I think it kind of reminds me of that 98 team. You know, that Jake Reed, that Moss, and Carter. I mean, you have KJ, Justin Jefferson, and then you have Addison. I just think that Kirk Cousins is going to throw for over 4,000 yards and probably I'm going to go 40-plus touchdowns. I think he's going to tear it up this year, and we're all going to jump on the Kirk Cousins bandwagon again.
I like it. So you're in the camp of probably should have gotten an extension done this offseason then, right? You don't like that they're kind of riding this out to a degree?
No, because I like Hall a lot, but I don't think he's the future. And I think the Vikings do too well this year to get a top quarterback next year. So I think I would have re-signed them to another couple years and then wrote it out and see what happens. But I think Kirk Cousins is the man this year.
Okay, I like it. All right, Ben. He says Kirk Cousins could be NFL MVP. I'm curious, what is your hottest take, my man, for the upcoming Viking season?
Mine is not as bold. I've had there's two of them that I thought of, and I've been kind of going back and forth. But this one, this is probably bolder than the other one. Jordan Addison is going to be offensive rookie to the offense, and teams will devote their best cover corners to him. I think Jordan Addison can be the guy who can take advantage of a team's second corner. So that is my bold take. Jordan Addison will be offensive rookie of the year.
I like it. We have a little bit of dog gremlins and internet gremlins barking at both those takes. So I agree on that. So Jordan Addison can kind of step up and potentially be a big fixture in this Vikings offense. Love that one as well. And yeah, with Kirk Cousins maybe stepping up into the biggest year of his career. So Shane, you think even with the offensive line, maybe the interior being a little shaky, can you still think it can hold up Kirk long enough to put up those big time MVP numbers?
That to me is the weak point. But I do believe before the season ends, I believe it is Josh Sokol. I think he takes over at left guard.
Okay.
I think not just because he played collegiately in the state of Connecticut. He played at Sacred Heart and I just, I root for anybody that played in Connecticut. I just think that he has what it takes. I know they moved him over from center to guard. I would like to see him take over at center, but I think he takes over for Cleveland at guard. I'm a little worried about Ingram. I was wondering whatever happened to Dalton Reisner and seeing why he never signed. But I do the tackles are great. The interior is a little weak, but I think they'll make some changes and they'll be able to tweak it to give him enough time to get the passes thrown.
Yeah, I was a little surprised, too, they haven't brought in Dalton Risner at this point or just made any other type of addition on the offensive line. You would have liked to seen that. I would have liked to seen them do something on the offensive line to upgrade a little bit. Maybe as the season gets on, then all the 5 starters are in there in continuity and, they just kind of run this line back and hopefully Bradbury, stays the course and Ingram and Ezra Cleveland can hold up beside him because they can't really afford any other mishaps, I guess, on that offensive line. Ben, how about, is there any unproven or first 10-year players you're really looking forward to watching this season with the Vikings?
So this one's pretty easy for me. For unproven, it's Byron Murphy. I mean, not unproven, first-year tenure, Byron Murphy. I think he is a great fit for the defense because you look at his tenure in Arizona. Arizona is not really a competing team now or anytime soon. He was really good there on a bad team. So I think that Byron Murphy is a great fit, and I think he's going to be one of the, not the best corner in the NFL, but one of the top corners in the league this year. So my pick for first-year tenure guy is definitely Byron Murphy.
Yeah, it's a really thin position for them, so they kind of need Byron Murphy to step in and shut things down. And I feel like no one's really brought up the point of that Cardinals team being a really bad team last year. They came crashing down to earth hard. Kyler Murray regressed. He had the injury, of course, but he was still a pretty solid player, on a bad football team. And now he's going to have to be basically the number one on a defense that has a new defensive coordinator and is just really unproven on that side of the football in terms of the defensive backs and cornerbacks that are in that room. So if Byron Murphy can kind of step up, make life a lot easier against other quarterbacks who are going to be thrown against the Vikings a ton, that could be a good one. Shane, how about you, man? Anyone else other than Byron Murphy that you're really looking forward to watch that's either like a rookie or that joined from the free agent class at all?
I do. I'm a big Lewis Cine fan. I liked him when he was at Georgia, living in the South. We saw a lot of Georgia games. I think he's not going to turn heads right away, but I think by the end of the season, he's a mainstay in the defense. I think they're going to move him around a lot. I think he's going to end up like a Shaq Thompson, kind of like in Carolina, a guy that started off as a safety, and I think eventually he's going to move into linebacker. That's what I believe. I think he's only 199. I think he can put on some weight, and I think that he can fly all over the field. He's very aggressive in some of the camp games I've seen. He's very aggressive. He does like to hit. I just think that he has too much talent to not be on the field. I'm a little worried about him with his coverage. That's why I think maybe in the box, I think he'd do a lot better.
Yeah, it seems like two things are working against him. Maybe the transition to the NFL has been a lot harder than was anticipated, despite him being a first-round pick and coming off a pretty legendary college football defense. And then two, there's kind of a logjam in front of him. I guess there's, again, two sides to look at both that. There's two sides to look at that. One being, okay, he doesn't have to step in and play right away, so he won't be exposed. But at the same time, if you're a first-round pick and you were also basically Kwesi Adofo-Mensah's really first draft pick that he made in this tenure with KOC, you really want to see that guy at least get the chance to be on the football field. And for right now, it seems like he's on the outside looking in. Now, injuries happen in football all the time. I'm sure he's going to figure out a way to probably crack the roster either by default or if maybe he shows enough in practices at the end of training camp here that he can show that he can be a legitimate player, not just a bench warmer. But you'd really like to see that first-round pick kind of step in and do something with it. Ben, are you starting to get a little worried about Lewis Cine? Do you actually still think there's a good player inside of there? What is your opinion on the Vikings first-round pick from last year?
So I think you have to give every draft pick, first-round draft pick at least, 2.5 to 3 years. So after this year, if it's not clicking, then it's time to say, all right, this is probably not a good pick by Kwesi. So I'm not ready to throw in the towel yet, but let's say I'm just picking up the towel right now.
Yeah.
If that makes
sense. Put it in your back pocket to a degree. I got you.
So
yeah.
That's where I'm at with Lewis. I think I'm not ready to throw in the towel, but I'm picking it up.
picking it up, and hopefully you don't have to throw it right back into the ring to call it off. I don't blame you there at all. Yeah, I think with Harrison Smith probably this last season here, and if he can show enough under Brian Flores or other the coordinators, whoever takes over, if Flores ends up leaving after this year, it's going to be big for his development going forward. And that draft class in general, unfortunately, maybe outside of a Caleb Evans, it might be a miss for Kwesi, but you're right. It's still a little too early to tell. It's too early to call. And hopefully, if there is opportunities for those guys to arise and they get into playing time and crack the field a little bit, that they can actually show that it was not a bad draft class and it was good picks by Kwesi and their regime. You're certainly not going to hit on all your picks, but just a little sour taste, I think, from obviously the first draft from Kwesi Adofo-Mensah. So, Shane, we talked about this a little bit. Do you trust this Vikings offensive line in 2023?
It's hard to say, because here at one time I'm saying Cousins is going to be the MVP, and which would make the offensive line great. The tackles are phenomenal, right? They have great tackles. The interior, I've never been a Bradbury fan. I didn't like when they drafted him. I thought that, I'm the big Chris Dolman fan, so seeing another guy in 56, especially the center, hurts all the time. But no, I worry about that interior. I just think they got to shore up the guards in the center, and they got to figure out a way to give Cousins more time and open up some holes for Addison and Chandler. But no, I don't have a lot of trust in the middle. On the ends, I'm super pumped. I think Darisaw is phenomenal, and I like everything I see. It's just I worry about those three guys in the middle. They're very iffy at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, watching that quarterback documentary on Netflix, I'm guessing you guys probably watched it too or saw snippets of it. I mean, I think we probably glossed over just how bad that interior of the offensive line really was, because we loved Darisaw and we liked what we saw from Brian O'Neill. And yeah, Bradbury took at least a half step forward after a pretty disastrous start to his NFL career. And you saw the licking that he took, Kirk Cousins that is, and it was like, oh my gosh, they really got to do something to sew up that offensive line. I think it's the best I have felt about it in quite some time, and that's a low bar to clear, because in general that offensive line really hasn't had stability. It hasn't had someone else opposite of Brian O'Neill until Darisaw really took things over basically all of last year, and after only being on the field limited availability in his rookie season. But if Ezra Cleveland and Ingram take a step forward, then you kind of have a lot of questions answered. And if not, I guess you're going into the free agency period or the draft next year, probably addressing that offensive line as one of your first points of emphasis, no matter what, if Kirk Cousins or whoever the quarterback ends up being in 2024. Ben, how about you, man? Do you trust this offensive line to hold up Kirk? How do you kind of look at the line?
I would say no with an asterisk, because I think, number one, yes, the tackles are amazing, and while the guard play is not good, I don't think the quarterback really helps the guard play with his not so ability to be able to move within the pocket. So I love the tackles. They're good for tackles for a while, but the guard play is where I put the asterisk. Is it more of the quarterback or is it more of the guards? Now, I know there was this viral clip going around of Bradbury getting tossed in practice. Some offensive lineman came out and said, first of all, the defensive tackle isn't rushing properly, and no other offensive lineman tried to help. So it's more of like a one-on-one. So it's I don't know. It's more of like you have to wonder what the guards are being asked to do within the offense. So that's why I say no, but with an asterisk. There's some more I got to see there.
Yeah, I definitely want to see it play out a little bit. And, Ezra Cleveland, I believe, is going to be a free agent after this season too. So do you re-sign him? Do you try to figure out how to supplement their guard play in the draft by next year? Yeah, let it play out a little bit, just like we were talking about the draft class, and I guess see where it goes from there. Shane, any last takes here? Any shout-outs you'd love to give on Vikings Vent Line? If you have some, fire away.
I went out to Minnesota for the first time ever last year to see the Vikings play the Jets. I'm from New Haven, Connecticut, which is known as the pizza capital of the United States, if you listen to Barstool Sports. But ate at a great place out there called Lola's. And I give a shout out to Lola's. We really liked that when we went out to Minnesota, and it was great. And my other shout out would just be let's go Vikings and Skol.
Yeah, Lola's a really good spot. A couple other kind of gourmet ones around Minneapolis, St. Paul that are worth checking out. Red Rabbit's right by the stadium at US Bank Stadium. It's about a mile down the road. That's a good one to check out. Pizza Luce is good. I think there's a lot of good pizza in Minnesota, but there isn't like the can't miss one. We are lacking a little bit of like the one we hang our hat on. There's a lot of really good ones out there. Don't get me wrong. But as a pizza snob, if you will, or if you're a pizza perfectionist, I'm definitely still looking for the best slice here in Minnesota. Ben, how about you, man? Before we wrap up here on Vikings Vent Line, I see your puppy there. That's kind of hanging out with you. Any shout outs, any last takes you love to give on Vent Line? Fire away.
Yeah. So this is my dog. This is my dog Daisy. She's 2, and I just want to give a shout out to all the fans that travel to these games, like those fans, because I went to a game. I went to last year when they played in Miami. Because I live down here in South Florida. The stadium was filled with just fans everywhere. Like, and they had their, like, I give a big shout out to them because they're the ones that are just 100% like loyal to a T. Like, one of my first NFL games I went was 2014 when they played Tampa. And Tampa was 2-14 that year. They were terrible. And the Vikings weren't that good either. But the fans were all filling up the stadium. So definitely some loyal fans from Minnesota. So shout out to you guys because, you know, that's one of the reasons I really like the team. You got some great fans.
They do travel very well. It's pretty cool to see.
Go Pack, go!
And go Pack, go from the misses there, Ben. I'm sorry about that. Sorry that you have to endure that all the time. That's never fun either. But Vikings fans, yes, they do travel very well, and it's always good to see the purple show up, whether it's on Purple Daily here or on the pod. Doesn't matter. Big fans of it. Shane, Ben, thank you so much for coming on Vikings Vent Line. Appreciate you guys. Mackie and Judd will be back after Saturday's preseason game for a Sunday recap episode. No true Vent Line for that, but stay on the lookout for that. You're on Purple Daily, and hit that subscribe button for Daily Vikings Entertainment, where we want to see the Vikings win a Super Bowl before we die.